now we need to get the harness, our fan harness in. So we've got this right here. We're gonna go ahead and put this back into place. And now that we've kind of wrapped this thing with tape, it's a little stiffer. So I'm gonna take some time. I'll get this plug, or get this latch back in here, and we should be in good shape to go ahead and start laying out our fan harness. And we're gonna lay it down beside this harness right here. This is the harness that I took my fan harness out of, or that the fan harness runs in, is this core support harness. But we made a standalone harness that's just gonna lay beside this one, and we'll just tie wrap to it. hopefully all this tucks in nice. We'll see when we go put the cover on. But we've got our power right here. I initially had undone this one, but pretty sure it goes on here, unfused, because it is actually fused itself. I think this is a fused post, if I remember right. And then this one's straight off the battery. Like I said, I did not have a vehicle to go by as far as how the wires are routed and all that, because every vehicle I looked at, junkyard and everything, all this was already hacked out of the car, you know. So in the parts truck, I got the fans and my harness from, the guy had already pulled the core support and had chopped off the wires. The fuse box was not there, and I just grabbed the wiring off the core support. So that's kind of how I had to do it. So you can see we were run along there. I've got to hook up my ground wire over there somewhere. I think it was with the horn bracket, but I'm just going to find an easy place to get a ground within reach of my wire. We'll see. I don't want to like have to pull, I mean, I may have to pull the grill or something like that, but if I can do it without it, we're going to do that. We'll just find a good spot. So I routed under all this at first, and this wire loom was real brittle, and so it broke apart. And it's good down here, it's good and solid, but up here it was brittle. And so I replaced that wire loom and wrapped it back up. And and so we ended up routing it this way. I still got to plug that plug back in. Ended up routing that over there. And you're gonna have to pull the fuse panel off, or pull it up a little bit, because there's a little post right there that this sits on, and that little tab there blocks it. So you're gonna have to pull that up to get it on, and then it snaps in over here. So you've got a little release right here, and then one here, and one here, and then that allows you, you just pull it up far enough to get this in, and then that snaps in. Once that's in, I routed my wire like this. We'll see how everything lays out. Hopefully that works. It may not, we'll see. And we still got to put the cover back on the PCM and put this cover down. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one down. I'm gonna go and put this down. I'll test fit it and then pull it back off to make sure, and we'll keep an eye on all this stuff while we make sure it works. And then we've got to set the fans in, but I'm gonna go ahead and do all the wiring first. So I'm gonna go focus on the ground wire. We ran our wire over there, and then it comes, I have to show you underneath. You could just route it however you find easiest, but it routes right there, and all this wetness is coolant. And right there, I still need to snip those. We're not touching anything that would rub. And then it heads up. We'll probably throw a tie wrap up here somewhere. You know, maybe around this main loom right there, just to kind of tuck this in, probably about like that. Or maybe like that, and then like that. Something, I don't know. We've got a little bit of excess to me and the way I routed it, but I did what I did. Or we'll just put one right there maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll tie it up somewhere, there and there. Somehow. So I went ahead and decided to run this connector inside of here. So I could have come up all the way up in the harness with it. It was not coming out in a good spot over here. And we've got plenty of room in here. There's no real reason why I would need to easily disconnect it, I guess. And we might as well just run it up here. So I could have come up further in our loom, but it's fine. It runs outside, it runs in. We should have no issue there. And then, like I said, it just was coming out in an odd spot, kind of wedged in here, and I just didn't like it. And so we're just gonna include it right there. We're gonna put our cover on, and it should be in good shape. And that looks good. So there's our wire going up in. It's control wire from PCM. Everything else is tucked up under here. And then we're gonna tie wrap this over here, and then down here, 2 spots. That'll take up the excess in this wire loom, wire harness, and then we should be good to go. So I'm gonna throw a tie wrap up here. Maybe we'll kick it over here, and then right there. Yeah, that should be good. And there. Just like that, maybe. Let me put a couple tie wraps on it. All right, we are done with the wiring except for plugging the fans in. Comes along here. I know someone's gonna say something about my green tie wraps, but they're easy to spot to make sure they don't, make sure I don't lose any in the harness fall. I don't know. Making excuses for using green tie wraps because that's the ones I had. So, doesn't bother me. But I'm sure somebody will comment that it bothers them. It's hidden under the fan anyway. And I did use black ones up here because I had some longer black ones. But the shorter ones were green. Anyway, I'll show y'all. I pulled all this off just looking in here to see what I could attach to. This is all plastic or some kind of not metal. So I seem to remember when I was pulling that harness off that core support, like I said, this is months ago, that it was tied into the fan bracket, or the horn bracket. Let me turn the light on. So I seem to recall that that was hooked into the horn bracket. And so if you look right there, you see that bolt right in the center of your screen. That is the horn bracket, and right underneath it you can see I put the wire for, I could have put it on top. I opted to put it on bottom, give it the best ground possible. And tightened it down. It probably originally was on top, but put it on bottom. Let me flip it around. But I don't know if that's how it went. It is a good ground spot, so we know the horn grounds to that spot. So what we've got here is there's a hole right there, so I put that, there's a little wire grommet or a wire holder that I pushed in there. Probably not how it went stock. I've kind of got too much excess wire. I don't really know how it routed before. We got a nice little clip right there, so I utilized that, but also tie wrapped it along here. And then the excess I just kind of went up and fastened it in there, then it comes back down and goes into the, fastens into that bracket. So, and then I just throw a tie wrap right there to kind of hold it all together. Like I said, I don't know how it originally routed, but I'm pretty sure it grounded at that spot, and so that's where we grounded it, and I think that should be good. I'm probably going to take that off and flip the wire on top of the bracket. I think that would probably fit better, and it should ground well. That's good clean metal on that fan bracket, or I keep saying fan bracket because I'm thinking fan, but on that horn bracket it's good clean metal, or I think I can get my wire wheel up in there and clean the top side of that bracket, but should be good. So I'm gonna flip that around, and then we'll get to the point. I'm gonna set up time lapse and we will set the fans in, but we are done with wiring. Well, call me crazy or perfectionist or what, but I went and I flipped that around like I said I would, because if I didn't, it'd drive me crazy, and that looks better to me.